All right, I'd like to call to order the Westerly Public Schools School Building Subcommittee meeting for Wednesday, August 13th. The time is 6:03. Members present are Chris Duhamel, Kristen Federico, Dr. Mark Garceau, Mark McKinnon, Mike Ober, Dan Lathrop, Cindy Kirchhoff, and myself, Justin Hopkins. With us as guests this evening, we have Deb Reading from Downs, Ashley Prester from DBVW, Ray Smith from O&G Industries, and John Scheib from NCA. Did I miss anybody there?
Yeah, me.
Oh my, I didn't even write your name down. I'm sorry. Audrey Ober.
Thank you.
Who was incidentally, for the record, Dan's camp counselor. I got that part. Okay. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. You should have all received the minutes from our July 23rd meeting in your packet, or at least in the invitation going out. If there are no modifications to these, we'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We do not have any members of the public unless you guys would like to address the committee as a member of the public. But hearing none, we'll move to approval of invoices. So we're going to pay some bills tonight. So at the start of this, I'm going to read through each invoice. If there are any questions, please ask them, but I will say that all of these have been reviewed by the design team and the owner's project manager, and have been vetted for both accuracy and entitlement and commensurate with where we are in construction. So with all those caveats, I'm now going to ask if there are any comments. If they are, just speak up. If there are not, we'll take a motion and then a second, and then we'll move these along. So the first any questions before we start? Okay. First invoice is from DBVW, invoice number 2318-25 for professional services for Dunn's Corner and Springbrook through July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $46,460.90.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Next invoice, DBVW, invoice number 2507-02 for professional services for Westerly Middle School roof replacement through July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $5,010.
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Next, TSKP, invoice number 230601-24 for professional services for State Street Elementary School through July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $12,678.82.
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, O&G Industries, application for payment number 11 for State Street Elementary School through July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $1,151,323.32, which represents a total billing of approximately $9.4 million, or 37% of the total contract.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, 3 invoices for prime consulting testing and inspection services at Dunn's Corners, Springbrook, and State Street through July 31st, 2025, and the total amount of $28,236, including invoice number 23260, Dunn's Corners, in the amount of $10,900, invoice number 23258 for State Street in the amount of $6,592, and invoice number 23259 for Springbrook in the amount of $10,744.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Next, Collier's Project Leaders Commissioning Services for all three elementary schools through July 31st, 2025, in the total amount of $4,614.67, which includes invoice number 1078961, Dunn's Corner, for $727.39, invoice number 1078959 for Springbrook in the amount of $954.53, and invoice number 1078960 for State Street in the amount of $2,932.75.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And finally, Downs Construction. Invoices number 23 for OPM services through July 31st, 2025, in the total amount of $24,670, which includes Dunn's Corner in the amount of $7,160, Springbrook Elementary School in the amount of $7,160, and State Street in the amount of $10,350.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay.
If I may, at this time, you may have noticed that we don't have an invoice for July from Tower. We did have a requisition review meeting. We had some revisions to their rec last week, and we have not heard from them since, after a couple of emails asking where the requisition was for this meeting to approve. We have not received any certified payroll for July to date, and we still are outstanding for 6 major subcontractors, some back into May for the June payment. So I believe city is nodding your head. We are still holding their June payment, waiting for them to give that information to us.
Okay. The only thing that I'll say to that is money moves projects, and if they're not providing you with the information that we need, then
We've been
we're not
having
gonna hear any
discussions with them.
complaints.
They say they're fully aware of it. We have not heard one peep out of their subcontractors, which usually they don't have any problem calling me directly. So I don't know if they're funding it themselves, but they know what the problem is, and we have been audited several times on this project, so we've got to make sure we have all that payroll in hand.
what do you mean by we've been audited?
Department of
several times?
Labor and Build RI has asked for the payroll reports.
You need a special meeting to keep them going, or?
Oh, we meet with them. We meet with them literally daily. We're just like, it must be, 20, 30 emails and phone calls. It's all being handled. There are guys in the field that are ready to do with it. It's all being handled by the Vice President Al Poulos. He's quite aware of it. So.
Okay.
It's just really big. Hopefully that'll get resolved soon, because I'm getting uncomfortable also with how long it's gone.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to hold special meetings if they know the deadlines for getting things in, so they're gonna have to wait till our next meeting.
They know we talk about it constantly when we need to have information to the people.
You don't want them to stop either.
Right.
No,
Agreed. Okay. Anything else under invoices? Next item on the agenda is owner's project manager / architect update.
you guys want to arm wrestle over there? See who goes first?
Mark paper, scissors. Are you ready to do it?
Yeah.
All right. I will not decline. So project update, we are in the final stretch. We are looking to get our certificate of occupancy, temporary certificate of occupancy no later than the 28th or 29th, which is the Thursday or Friday before Labor Day weekend. They're pretty close on the 22nd, except a few areas that I will show you. Their July progress, they wrecked almost 3 million. We did cut them a bit back, so I'm estimating on where the percentage is. I didn't do the math to figure out how much was cut. But they basically did hit their projection for July. If they hit their projection for August, we're looking at about an 85 to 90% completion by substantial completion. That's better than I expected. but, we'll show you a few things just to be a little concerned about, but. This is more of a disclaimer for me, is that all these photos that I'm gonna show you in a minute were from last Thursday. A lot of progress can happen in a week. So, but this was as of, August 7th. There has been positive, progress. And I'll obviously be out there tomorrow and hopefully see a lot more stuff. So, at Dunn's Corner, we've had a lot of, the cafeteria lights are in, walls are about half painted. Floors are in, kitchen equipment is being, hooked up. You can see that in the bottom right kitchen. Lobby area, the flooring's down. They're still working above the ceiling. Upper left corner, the asphalt was put in, so we have the final asphalt on that. And, Deb, that reminds me, we should mention what Sean had brought up to us last week about, Plateau Road. I didn't put it in a slide. I just now remembered it looking at that slide. The behavioral and psych offices and classrooms are being worked on. Most of the doors and hardware have been changed out. There was a little hiccup on the electric switch over, but I guess we've got full power now. Okay. So they're pretty much racing to the finish line. These are the remaining items as of last Thursday. You can see there's a lot of them, but they're picking them off. I think we're gonna be in pretty decent shape. Board of Health inspection, I believe, is this week for the kitchen.
Push to Monday.
We got pushed to Monday, okay. See, I'm getting, hot off the press here. Acoustic ceiling, signage, overhead door, I don't know, we haven't talked about that in a couple of weeks, so I need to find out tomorrow where that is. That's the overhead door between the kitchen and the cafeteria. It's not fire rated. If it doesn't go in, it's not the end of the world. Parking lot striping at some point. Playground is in process right now. Outdoor classroom is almost done. They had a little bit more paving to do. Fire alarm, septic, de-weeding. I don't know if you've been by. There's a lot of weeds right now and all the loam. They're gonna de-weed all that. My punch list and my engineer's punch lists are gonna be performed over the next 2 weeks. And then we'll have the final inspections. So things that we know are gonna be incomplete. We've talked about a few things. Final seeding of the grass areas, plants and mulch. It makes no sense to plant in August. So we think we're gonna plant in September, sometime later in September, maybe even early October. That's gonna give you a lot better chance to have a landscape that actually will survive with that. Exterior canopy at the back of the loading dock, is not, meeting criteria right now. They've prepped for it, but it won't be done. That's not a life safety issue. Aluminum doors and frames, they had a delay on the aluminum doors. There's one in the cafeteria on the bottom left. You can see coming out of the cafeteria. They've put temporary doors in, so they look pretty close to what we actually had. They're just not the right size. So it's enough to get occupancy and to keep the kids safe, keep the weather out. And they'll come back off hours and change them once they're on the material. Electric baseboard heat, I don't think that's gonna make it either. They were having some issues getting the things, but again, we're in September. It's not, or we're in August. We're not gonna have to worry about heat for a little while. Potential areas that could be incomplete include the painting of the exterior soffits. I know they've made a pretty good progress this week, so maybe that will come off the list. And final HVAC commissioning. They're doing startups next week. I believe we didn't get the schedule from them, but that usually takes about 30 days, so they'll have to be doing that stuff into September. But as long as we have fresh air into the rooms, we meet code. So we're looking for the certificate of occupancy on the 29th. Substantial completion, I'll explain the difference. Substantial completion is when you get all the warranties start, you get all the test reports, you get all the O&M manuals. Mark's team gets all their training. We get all the attic stock, we get all the testing and balancing for the HVAC system done. That's gonna be probably mid to late September. I think they're gonna take a little while to get that paperwork into us. So that's when the warranties will start. And then we're gonna see the punch list going through the fall, probably October, November, before they're completely done.
So what could be the hang up on the TCO? That's too.
At Dunn's Corner, I don't anticipate anything unless we have some kind of, fire alarm gremlin that we're not aware of yet. They're supposed to be testing next week. We still have 2 weeks of buffer on that. So Dunn's Corner, I'm fairly confident in right now. I don't see any hangups right now on Dunn's Corner.
Have teachers been allowed to go in or not?
They go in on the 25th. So there's still gonna be some work going on, but we have been told that the classrooms need to be done so the teachers can all be in their classrooms.
So once school starts, are they demobilized from the site or?
We need to find out what their plan is for that. I think they're gonna still have someone on site. I don't know where they're gonna be. As far as living if they live in the building or whatever, but we've told them no workers in the building unless, authorized during regular hours. So, there's gonna be a punch list, we know that, so,
Yeah, just the challenge is once people have kind of demobbed from the site, it's always a challenge to, that thing that you think is gonna take 2 weeks to resolve, suddenly someone's not
Yeah.
there for 2 weeks.
we've heard rumors about staff moving to the next projects.
A little more than a rumor, right?
Well, we know where they're going, yeah,
The
but
project that Down is on at the OPM up in Providence, and Dennis's last day may be coming up at the end of the month.
we've asked them for, who's gonna take over for him once he's moved on. I'm assuming it's gonna be either Ryan or Jake, who are two other people that have been on the job for quite a while, but we haven't been told that yet.
I would just remind them that the warranties don't start until the job's finished.
Correct.
For these things.
Exactly,
Yeah.
substantial completion.
Yeah.
No reason for-
I want substantial completion as soon as possible, so we don't have issues, but they're just not there yet. There's a lot of things that they're just not even on their radar yet. Chips is another one. We have to meet the chips requirements that then send the ride. That's something. We'll monetize all of that. We might be able to issue substantial completion with a lot of those things monetized. Before we issue payments. So Springbrook, there has been a lot of progress there too. The operable partitions are in. They're in both schools actually for the art and music, door and hardware again. Ball rooms at the classroom wing have been in. The gymnasium, you could see in the upper left, the floor was put in, went in perfect. I haven't heard any complaints about it yet. We're trying to stay off it as much as possible.
Except for the color.
Yeah, I did hear a complaint about the green color. But
Tell them that Mark picked out. Sorry.
if that's the only thing that someone can complain about, I'll take the bullet on that one. But the lobby, Project Lab Media Center, partitions, doors, frames, media center, continuing, you can see the lobby area in the bottom right. Chipboard, fire alarm's still going. The outdoor classroom is pretty much done. They've started the fencing. A lot of remaining items to go here. As of last week, they hadn't even started the roof at the media center yet. I'm assuming that's gonna be pretty well done at this point. Over the Octagon edition. Gutters and downspouts, site grading, but I'm not gonna go through a lot of this. The big thing that we had a question about a long time, fire pump in the bottom right is on site. We were told that most of the piping is already complete. So I'll look at it tomorrow and see how we're doing, but that was the major holdup for Springbrook. So it's on site and they've been working hard on that one. What I am concerned about is, first, incomplete items. We have the seating and plants again, aluminum doors again, electric baseboard again. Fire pump, hopefully I can remove that from potentially incomplete items. It is our professional opinion, Deb and I agree on this one, that we don't feel the media center is going to be ready. They have work scheduled right up to the end of, right up to Labor Day weekend. They have not done some coordination that was required, so we have some ceiling issues we got to deal with right now. And so we've recommended, and we met with principal this morning to let her know what our opinion was, and she was reluctant but agreed that they can do their library test for a couple weeks on a cart. This means that we've had to push back the FF&E couple, at least a week or two. I did not see the final answer from her today. But we're thinking that it's gonna be done on the 12th, which means the week of the 15th, when they have their open house, that room will be done. So same thing with the occupancy and punch list and everything. Any questions on Springbrook?
I just want to add, when he says the 12th, that means the furniture's all in and installed, it's ready to go.
Yeah, which means the tables are in, they can hold a class in there, and then over the next few weeks, the books will end up on the shelves. That librarians take their organization very seriously. So we want to make sure they have time to do that. So before I go on to the rest of the stuff, change order 14 was sent to you guys. These are some items that we finally got pricing on. We got a few in the last couple of days. I think they were trying to sneak them in. We didn't have time to get them into change order 14. Springbrook, we had some lack of lighting outside the media center door. Our engineers weren't aware that was an egress door, so we needed to put a couple fixtures there. Custodial closet chase, the plumbing wasn't lining up with the structure, so we had to bump the plumbing a little bit to get everything to work. Media center and project lab walls. I took a photo upper left from a few weeks ago. When we pulled the whole old media center ceiling down, it was very beat up and ragged. Some areas the wallboard stopped right at the old ceiling, which is lower than our new ceiling. So we needed to patch those walls in and fix all that up there. And then the AHJ had requested some, that being the fire marshal had requested some magnetic hold opens on some additional doors at Springbrook that we didn't have in the original scope. So the total is 268.61.
We had hold opens on the media center doors.
That those were put on, remember, this last summer, after we had already done our documents. I typically don't like to put mag hold opens on the media center because it's a noise thing. I wouldn't want those doors to be open all the time. You guys operate differently. So we put the mags on, but at the time we got that, they had already demoed the mags. They hadn't saved them. So.
Any questions for Ashley on these?
So the only real concern, it seems, is the media center.
As long as everything tests out the way it does next week, fire protection sprinkler in both buildings, and fire alarm, we should be pretty good other than the media center. We might not be using the small classrooms, because the furniture won't be coming until the second week of September.
Is the project lab included with the media center being closed?
Yes, because that furniture is not coming in either. Yeah, they were still working on penetration today, so they're not as far along as they say they are.
Do you foresee any other big change orders coming, or is this kind of to clear up?
We have a few that are coming in. I haven't looked at the numbers yet. And then we have the CCDs, which Deb has been tracking separately, because those will eventually turn into change orders. Like we think the VDA installation price will come way down. It was at 160. We asked them to provide slips and everything, so we'll deal with that next month. The lobby bathrooms was last at 97, but we thought the plumbing was too high. So there's a few that need to be resolved and come down a little bit.
And we're still okay on budget?
Right now, our contingency without the CCDs is at 1.747 million.
Awesome.
So if the CCDs take up another, I'm doing the math, probably, 270, 300, somewhere in that way. Yeah, we'll be all right.
So we still have the project too.
No, I mean, I'm.
We need to start having those updates, the meetings, if we can start, yes, yeah. Yeah, but it's not part of, if we can start getting it.
Oh, sure, on the agenda?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll send it out to everyone for the
It's the 1.7 for all projects?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the bond.
For all projects.
Yeah.
That's for all projects, and that's with, 183,000 in owner contingency on Springbrook and Duns. That, so,
Make a motion to approve this.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No.
Okay, thank you. Just got a couple things I want to go to. I explained its certificate of occupancy. I had Deb send this around to everybody in the committee so you could read it, so I don't have to go a lot with it, but the only thing, and this is to Dr. Garso's question, is that Tower has to provide a bunch of information, and we've provided a letter to them weekly, pretty much, for the last month, reminding them about this paperwork. If there's any of this paperwork that is not in order or not received before Labor Day, we cannot legally issue the 128s. I don't want to be at that point, which is why we've been proactive in sending them all the requirements weekly. We will continue to reiterate it to them at this week's meeting and next week's meeting. And yeah, it's just, they have to provide the data. It's anything that we can do. It's the test results for the fire alarm sprinkler system and other things like that. So that, hopefully we're not in that boat.
How much time did it take to put the fire pumps?
They told us 3 weeks, but it took like, they said it was a week, but I don't think it's done yet. I think it's done enough to get the electrical going. They probably still have piping to do. I'll see tomorrow. And I said, what if something's not completed? Like the media center, this obviously was taken last week, so you can see how much stuff isn't done yet. Anything that's not done, we can, in the case of the media center, we can close all the doors, keep the kids out. They can access it from the outside, still work during school hours, as long as the doors are locked and they're not leaving that area. Any work, elsewhere in the school or on the grounds is after hours or weekends. They have to coordinate all that work with Mark and the principal and Deb. That's pretty much, we've given them the rules. They understand what they have to do. That's why they want to get done now. They don't want to have to come back on second shift. FF&E delivery, I hit on this a little bit, so it'll be brief. That obviously isn't your picture, but what it's going to look like when you're all done, because a lot of the furniture is very similar. We have at Dunn's the cafeteria tables, social work and psych offices, project lab tables, stools, storage. That's all coming the week of the 25th. Dunn's is going to be fit up and ready to go for school. That's the plan. Springbrook, it was just the reason we recommended pushing back the furniture is that if they showed up with a full crew to install and they're not ready, then we have to remobilize. We can't take the shipment, or we pay twice to move the shipments. It was ready. We wanted to be done so we can just move in the space and install it. One mobilization, one crew that comes in, puts everything together and installs it. And that should be about 3 days for a media center to be installed. And that's also the small group instruction rooms, project lab again. And then IT is responsible for the phones, the computers, Wi-Fi, hotspots, monitors, projectors, all that stuff. So Mark is coordinating that with the IT department right now. I haven't heard any issues with the infrastructure not being ready for them yet, right?
No, as far as they tell me, it's ready to be installed.
Okay, good. This was just an explanation on substantial completion for the sake of brevity. It's basically what I told you. It's all the O&M manuals, as-built, CHIPS paperwork, final survey, lots of other things in there. That's when the warranties start. And then final completion, we're expecting October, November. That's when we basically close out everything. And so one thing I didn't mention is that when we do the punch list over the next 2 weeks, we're going to monetize everything in the beginning of September. So every item on the punch list that isn't checked off will have a value. And then all that value will be totaled up. And then when we issue substantial completion, which with that punch list, you are legally obligated at that point to release all remaining funds except for the punch list, provided you have all the certified payrolls. So, we just want to make sure that we have enough money left, and the fact that they haven't gotten their certified payrolls is to your advantage right now. So, yeah, I think that is it, I believe, unless yeah, that's it. Any questions?
You had mentioned, what Sean.
Oh, yeah,
talked with us about.
we had a conversation about Lacey. Town manager had mentioned to us, he had a couple, comments on the installation at Dunn's. One of which was he was surprised to see that the Plateau Road was not paved beyond the property line all the way to the top of the hill. This is apparently their original intention before we started the project. We did not include that scope because it was beyond our property line. It's a ride project. We have to stay within our zone. So there's a gap in coverage right now, and he was talking about, I don't know if the town's gonna take care of it or whether they're gonna ask the school to do it. That's between the entity.
The town's gonna do it.
I think so too. So that will be something that he's taking care of.
The town road.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing is, he said that the whole road through the property is the town road too, but we paved that because it's within our property. So,
There is just an area, a very short area, I'd say it's about 40, 50 feet from the west, where we end at the west property line,
yeah,
up to the corner where Plateau Road turns.
yes,
And they paved everything else after they put the new water line in, except for this portion. So now there's this gap of whole pavement with the patch for the water line. So that's what he thought was gonna get covered.
Yeah.
But he understands now, so he's.
yeah. I just wanted to communicate that to you guys. That was some information we got. So
And the curbing.
he did mention some curbing. We'll pick that up on the punch list. We'll look at, see if it's within
And
tolerance.
the asphalt walks. Wasn't thrilled with that.
He was not thrilled with the asphalt walks around a lot of the property. I had mentioned to him that at the time we were in value engineering to make sure we could afford all three projects. And that the asphalt walks were a decision that we made in areas, based on, prominence and exposure. And he wanted to see concrete everywhere, but, it's significantly more money to do concrete. That's the reason we pulled them out. So
And that wasn't communicated to them?
it was on every drawing we've provided, but yeah, I don't know if I specifically,
It wasn't communicated.
I
Right,
don't,
okay.
I don't believe so. So, any other questions?
I guess, I was just reviewing the notes because we've held, 3 meetings with Tower.
Yes.
Starting May 2nd.
We had one
March.
we had March 21st,
March 21st, then May
then we had a
2nd.
May, then we had a July one, July 8th.
So the completion schedule was August 22nd
Yes,
at every meeting.
And
Okay.
yes,
I'm gonna walk these projects on August 22nd, and I would like a representative from Tower there. Because we have given them every opportunity to finish on time, starting with those meetings. The whole purpose of having those meetings was to make sure that we removed any obstacles to complete on time. I would like a representative from Tower there to explain to me why things aren't completed. Okay?
Yep.
And if you can relay to them that they have 216 hours until August 22nd to finish what they can finish. I do not accept, and I don't think this building committee accepts these things so flippantly that they're not gonna be done for the start of school.
they will tell you that they've submitted a schedule.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
When someone sits in a meeting with me and tells me that they're on schedule, I expect that to be done, and I'm sorry I'm
No,
sorry to
no.
correct some frustration to you,
Mhm.
but
Right.
no,
We understand.
it's,
No, we understand.
Tower's gonna explain to the town why they're not finished, not to the OPM, not to the architect, okay?
Yep.
Understood. If you would let me know, Justin, when you'd like to have that walk at each school, I'll make sure
Thank you.
someone's there.
So that's next Friday, just
Yep.
for everyone,
Right.
22nd.
Okay.
Justin, if you'd like someone from my office there, unfortunately, I can't be there. I'll be traveling for a funeral, but
The owner deserves an explanation.
Would you like the same group, Justin, that met with them? Yourself, Dr. Garson wants to be there. Would you
Yeah.
like me to have Sean there?
Be there. We can ask Sean if he wants to be there.
Okay, great. And
My suspicion is this is gonna be a pretty candid meeting.
usually it should be.
thank you.
To not have a media center at the start of the opening of the school, to me, is a failure on the part of the contractor. So I'm gonna start with that as baseline.
I agree. I can provide you some additional data if you want to talk. So. Okay,
Don't need
Yes.
additional data. The proof's gonna be in our walkthrough.
yep, okay, thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, guys.
No, we understand. We're glad the school is going to be able to open on time, but
Yep.
we're very sorry it's not all done. That's it, like I said, just let me know what time. And John, would you like to present on State Street? Thank you.
Quicker summary and overview on where things are on State Street. Thank you. And thank you, Ashley, for going over. Substantial
He loosed
completion.
this up for you, John.
Yeah. Right. Substantial completion, final completion, TCO, all those key steps, we'll be back next spring talking about that. But for now, giving you the overview of where things are overall. Current progress, August 13th. We're about a year into this now. I was looking back, August 26th, 2024 is when started site mobilization and things. So we're about a year in. We're still targeting that spring of 26 for completion. So all moving well. As you'll see, as Justin mentioned, it was about 37%, I think, on progress. I do think the form of the building is all there. We're very close to being weather tight. That's all a lot of steps happening to make the building weather tight, waterproof, windproof, etc. That will allow O&G to really put the gas down to really move forward faster on a lot of the interior elements. But you'll notice, and again, similarly, I didn't type out a disclaimer, but in this case, yes, all these pictures are about a week old, so from last Tuesday. So we had it's all been wrapped in blue. Basically the air, ice and water shield up on the roof, and then the air vapor barrier on the walls. Some of the areas, just to give everyone a brief overview of what happens at the overlap. And Ray was excellent at describing this to me, but basically they leave the last section of the ice and water shield with a little bit of paper under it. And then we complete the air vapor barrier of the wall as it comes up and over basically the eave edge piece. And then the tape is removed so that you can get the seal of the ice and water shield down on top of the air vapor barrier. What happens here is that the wall insulation starts to come out from there. So I'm not sure if either you started to see shingles on the roofs or in the past week, or the wall insulation coming out, but it was all on site and all pretty much ready to go as the air vapor barrier, all the enclosure, that layer of enclosure is completed. And with the tour that happened last week with Mark and Audrey, Dr. Garceau, I think these pictures were taken the same day you were on the tour. I think, was that all? Yes, it was the same day. So you got a sense of the three of you got a very clear sense of where we are progress wise, and you can really even start to get a sense of the different spaces where the metal stud walls are in place. Some mock-ups happening. This was a preliminary mock-up of where the windows are in the exterior wall. So I wanted to show you that we're reviewing mock-ups with O&G for things like that, for the windows, for how the siding is all going to work as it gets now applied to the exterior.
Who did that cop joint? Yeah, right.
Which one? That was really zoomed in. It's a mock-up. But yeah, you know, still some more of the sense of how like this was taken where we have the flat roof over the kitchen or low slope roof over the kitchen, and then we have the gabled roof over the kindergarten classrooms. So it's still seeing this was the last section of framing that gets enclosed, right? Because you guys were working with this B1 area kind of back towards the low slope. Yeah. So moving very fast out there. Yeah, so the picture shows where that is. That was up from the northwest, kind of corner from that high roof. Ductwork going in. So all their ductwork is completely sealed at each end as it gets installed right now. So that's encouraging to see that the MEP systems are following right along with all the enclosure. It's up on the second floor. So to go over some of the PCOs and what we're looking to go through with the proposed change orders right now is to go through them. Ideally, whatever gets approved tonight would become part of change order 5. So that way we can actually say it's going to be change order 5, it's going to be X dollar amount, and the committee can act on that, or if they need to follow up. But so this was the FAA crane impacts. So just to give everybody a brief overview here, there is a long description that O&G provided, and Ray wrote it as part of the change order, and then there was a series of backup for what that PCO included. But basically, you know, it was not in the spec that O&G had to provide an FAA permit. I think a lot of the considerations for how this building was sited very early on was that we were, because we were north of the hospital, and the hospital has a fairly high volume, and the airport is then south and slightly east of that. It was determined as O&G was getting into the project, and we had actually already they had already released the steel contractor to start their shop drawings and even erection plans, which called into effect the sequencing of the project, where they plan out every piece of steel that needs to get assembled into the building. So in effect, the original plan at the top here showed 2 crane locations of a height, well, exceeding 96 feet, because what they had to do was come back with a plan that allowed them where they could go no higher than 96 feet for the crane. And that was, instead of 2 locations outside the building, these 2 locations were outside the building. So that means 2 gravel pads, 2 clear areas. It means that you could, I'm not sure too many of the logistics, but I think from crane 2, you could have accessed around the back, and crane 1 certainly had to work its way back to the west as well from when it would have been installed and removed. The crane location's a little bit hard to see here, but what we ended up with was only crane location 1 was effectively at or near its location. The other 4 were all inside the building and all had to be designed to reach certain ranges and extents of the building. So that meant now that the crane had to come to, I believe it was the furthest east point, and then had to back its way out while foundations were already constructed, while we were trying to prep for certain certain site elements such as the underground piping and utilities. So those all had to be protected. Foundation walls that were in place had to have ramps over them so that the crane could actually move from one spot to another. So that's why there are site impacts to the tune of $20,501.34. That was all of the gravel, and then in some cases, moving all that gravel around. It could not remain because that was about 1.5 inch rock to help support the crane, whereas our under slab conditions had to be a finer gravel, final structural subgrade to work for the floor slabs. So all that heavy gravel had to then be removed or relocated and then constantly shuffled around. So those were the site impacts generally. The steel erection impact of $16,279 was in 3 different categories. One was that they had to go back, and the designer who did the shop drawings had to go back and redo the erection plans based on the revised sequence. Then they had to do in the shop, they actually had to reorder. A lot of that steel was already in progress, so they had to reorder everything in the shop, reallocate it to different shipments, and then there was simply the cost of moving all that steel on site. Rather than just having such a larger crane, you could put the steel almost anywhere and pick it from the larger crane. From the smaller cranes, in a lot of cases, they had to move that steel with like small lulls and maneuver the steel in a lull, and then they could pick it from the location that they needed and put it into place. So those, in summary, those unanticipated costs were all captured here to the tune of $40,583.34.
So
we
essentially, to
wanna-
boil it down, is the FAA had some requirements that we didn't see.
Right.
And the change to the cost of labor and materials was about almost 41,000.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
When did the FAA call us out?
They actually didn't call us out. ONG was, we all could have been more proactive in this, but ONG was proactive to the extent that before it became
Before it became a big fine.
before it became a fine or a violation.
So there,
That was,
in the written description that I think was included in your packets that you can read later, there's a bit of a timeline and some explanation of the federal rule that you have to follow to do this work. How my erector found it was their safety person their safety director, who checks every single time they're gonna put a crane up. If there's a little procedure and a little website, you plug where you put your crane and you hit the button, and FAA gives you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And after you get the thumbs down, now you have to go through the process. We went through that process. We had to go through it twice. One for the building itself, and then again for the crane. Again, it's all in greater detail in the text. But we've had to go through this process, I think 3 times now to capture all of our other crane activities, and moving forward, we're just staying below the FAA mandated height. The real issue is that this building is actually approximately 1 mile dead straight down off the end of the runway. So we're just really close, and based on differing heights, the runway is actually lower than the building is. Just because of the way the terrain works over there, we end up inside the imaginary surfaces they have. And if you're ever out there on these nice days, you get to watch us get buzzed by all those small general aviation planes.
I'm always amazed when I see a plane coming in low over the Stop and Shop building.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Right,
really.
yeah, it's like you feel like you could reach up and grab it.
Do you foresee any other impacts beyond this with the rest of the project?
Not
Not with the FAA, yeah.
Not at the FAA. They approved the building and then gave us a path forward for all of our future lifting needs.
do we wanna, I guess, Deb, do you wanna?
Why don't we go
act on-
through all of them
All right,
first?
so, yeah, all right. Okay, Next one, this is, gable and sheathing. So quick summary description on this. This is the areas and the building elements are more or less, this is the B1 area, the kindergarten and cafeteria and kitchen. This is just the, this is B1, the gym and centralized spaces. B2 is the, cafeteria, kitchen and kindergarten spaces. And then the A wing, which is the first grade area of the building, first and second grade. So what prompted this one was a more or less a review of the gable end framing. So the elements that all those gable frames that you see there, all that light gauge metal truss, all of that was more or less delegated design. In other words, structural engineering takes it so far with the bid documents, and then the engineer, all that light gauge metal frame gets designed by designed and detailed by a contractor representative, the designated representative within the framing contractor who does an engineered set of drawings for that. It was revealed via RFI process that there was a bit of more tolerance, or there was less tolerance for movement out at the ends of the wings that needed more or less to have we have sheetrock beneath all of the cable and trusses. These now needed like plywood, so we were looking at changing it to fire treated plywood. In addition to the change to plywood, that could not just be screwed or nailed to the underside of the trusses. It needed a more robust connection. We actually went through 2 or 3 versions of those connections. It was relatively quick to determine that you could put the plywood underneath the extent to which we needed the plywood. What became more of a challenge was how to connect it to all of the trusses that are above and to the steel, the structural steel that supports it. There's a beam, there's structural steel beams in different places here that support the all the trusses in both wings. So we needed a way to attach it to the steel, and then we needed a way to attach it to keep the solidity of the attachment from the plywood to the trusses. So all of that in total, labor materials was the $37,444. There was no change originally we had like a lot of steel anchors and things like that. So we've worked that through working with O&G and the team, worked that down a significant amount to the point where that's the vetted amount, all the credits that came back for not using the sheetrock and not having to tape it. And then adding the plywood, a sheet of plywood is going for about 5 times more than a piece of sheetrock right now, which kind of surprised me, but that's where we are at the moment. So that's the extent of the construction costs. We do have this, the PCO is presented with an additional 5 days general conditions, $20,780. Without I just want to hold for a minute. Without the general conditions, the additional general conditions, the change plus 10% overhead and profit, so $37,444 plus $3,744 is $41,188.40. The reason why we're just showing it that way is at this point in time, when we reviewed the last version of the PCO here, we don't have written verification of what those additional general conditions are. We know there's a claim for 5 additional days, but we haven't actually seen on the schedule where the critical path factors in there, and whether or not those 5 days are truly going to push out the schedule and seen that on a schedule that's been produced. So at this point, our recommendation is to approve the trade costs and the overhead and profit associated with the trade costs for $41,188. And come back to you with whatever the additional general conditions are, once we've been able to vet the entire construction schedule.
Is, ONG amenable to that?
I don't know. We've been, we've been talking about the PCOs here. I know the last conversation I had with ONG, there was still some question about, how, we went back and forth a lot of times on the carpentry costs, materials and labor. And we got that to the point where they're ready to roll with that. And schedule wise, they need to roll with it. It was just, I think if we can get a solid schedule that shows where and how, this is actually going to kick the schedule 5 more days at the end. As of right now, you're expecting a finished building on June 30th of 2026, if not sooner. As of right now, we read this to mean that has to be, that we have to extend that June 30th to July 5th or July 4th. But we don't have justification for it at this point. So that's where we are on this one.
Any questions? So was this not something that the truss manufacturer couldn't have handled through a heavier gauge steel or light gauge?
Through the,
Or was
it had to do a lot with the diaphragm strength of reducing the shear and torsion out of the end. So I don't think beefing them up would have made it any better, maybe even worse, because it would have just made the elements heavier. So what this does was it was meant to provide a way, instead of bracing, cross bracing, additional cross bracing and everything, it was meant to provide a way that they could really tie the end of the building back in deeper to the building, so there was less just frankly movement of all the structure. And
not only are these flat gable ends, they're also cantilevered across.
Yeah, there's a small cantilever here. There's a small cantilever here and a small cantilever over there. So that was, and by cantilever, we're saying that this last beam extends over, and then there's a support framing and a truss. There's a couple trusses out here that are hanging on that cantilevered beam.
Is there a structural engineer that has reviewed this?
So the design team structural, this was presented by a licensed PE with the contractor, which was part of that design build process. And through the RFI process and the 2 or 3 different iterations of the solution here, our structural engineer, E2 Engineers, has reviewed and vetted this and approved it.
So for those that are kind of wondering what this delegated design process is. So for systems like this that involve light gauge metal framing, they're often what's called delegated design. This extends to, I'm probably telling you stuff you already know. This extends to, say, exterior wall construction, because depending on the manufacturer, depending on the light gauge manufacturer, they sometimes have proprietary systems and proprietary studs that have different loading to them. So there are certain things that are in construction projects that are considered delegated design.
Well, like a retaining wall would be a good example in your world there, where these Versa block walls that they Versa block, or whoever the companies are, but they do a lot of that engineering to determine, do we have enough reinforcing back into the earth.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how the trusses got ordered if they were.
Well, what I think this is about is the actual steel, the rigidity of the steel system that the truss is sitting on top of, right?
Yeah, it is more or less about keeping the steel frame rigid. And this is kind of we've talked about this from the very get-go. This is a bit of a hybrid building. the amount of structural steel was reduced everywhere possible, and there's a lot of load-bearing metal stud walls in here as well. So we're transferring these roof loads down to both metal studs and structural steel. And in doing that, there was an overall need assessed to really transfer that rigidity. I guess to think of it this way is we're trying to transfer the rigidity out by using the plywood. Plywood has a structural component to it that sheetrock does not. Sheetrock would just kind of crack and break, whereas the plywood will keep the building from these gable ends from swaying.
I mean, it's not a big change order, but I'm surprised it wasn't beginning of it. It's a good process.
Well, this issue's been going on for 6 months?
This issue was originally discovered in October.
Okay,
And a lot of that time frame was working to find the most economical solution to this.
And this is it. This is where everyone's landed.
Yeah, between O&G, ourselves, engineers, E2 engineers.
okay.
I make a motion to approve if everyone's.
So do we want to go through? I know we've got two more,
Yeah.
two more items to discuss.
Well, I was thinking, we're not gonna
Right.
re-engineer it.
Is it 41,000 or is it more? 41.
It's 41.
Well, as submitted by ONG, it's 64,044.
That's what I'm asking. Is another 20 on top, isn't it?
It sounds like there's a little bit more work to do, on the other 20.
So we'd like to get the trade, I think to get the trade contractors moving, we'd like to move this forward, but we'd like to take some more time with O&G to vet the additional 5 days on the schedule.
Okay, next one.
Now,
Next one's
I go
smaller.
next. I think I have to go to the next, it's not a whole presentation, it's just one slide each. So the next one was the, I think it was PCO 20. Okay, so while we're looking at this, so this is now looking at the rest of this is where we had the plywood and the pink again. The rest of the wall, the rest of the space underneath, directly underneath the roof trusses is sheetrock, as I said. It's a sheetrock material. It's the same that we would have on the walls of the building. So this is, I will say that this PCO does not have a proposal request attached to it, which means it generated from the contractor. Contractor offered to replace that sheetrock with what they call paperless board, which is more or less exterior sheathing. So it doesn't have a paper component. It has it's this type of exterior board that you would put when you saw the building when it was more purple, and had the exterior sheathing exposed before they put on the blue skin, the air vapor barrier. That purple board is what we're talking about here. So the offer was to replace all of the rest of it with that exterior sheathing. So full credit for all the paper chipboard, and then replace with the exterior sheathing board. So the additional there would be the 10,067.
Why the
Well,
change?
and the intent is that you eliminate the possibility of any moisture damage to the sheetrock in the ceiling.
And the paperless board does have one face that looks like the regular sheetrock. It just doesn't have paper.
But that's the benefit. That would be the why.
That would be the benefit,
The
right?
less
That
moisture,
would be the
yeah.
benefit.
I'll share for what it's worth from the design team. We don't recommend this change order. It's not necessary. We issued this. This gets back to a little bit of the element with with that everything that happens kind of above the ceilings here. And what happens is that we have we have the whole attic volume is being conditioned, are residually conditioned because of the spaces below. There's no insulation between them. We have all the insulation and air vapor barrier and everything happening up at the gable roof forms. We issued the letter back in May or June, and when we were talking about that whole issue, that the temperature and humidity will be will only be marginally different than the conditioned spaces below. We have a pending proposal request to add some ventilation to those spaces, marginal ventilation to those spaces. That hopefully next time we're in front of you, we'll have that pricing to review that, and we can approve that change order to get that to get some more air movement going up there as requested as a condition of the prior moving forward with the roof design as originally designed. So again, because the conditions will only be that we're talking about the layer of sheetrock that will be directly above the acoustical ceiling, that sheetrock will the only thing keeping the space between the conditioned space and the space above is that acoustical ceiling. It's not insulated. It will not keep the it'll keep the temperature above the acoustical ceiling will not be appreciably different from the conditioned space below.
But I remember from that letter that the temperatures were very different than what the school will actually be kept at.
50 degrees.
Yeah, like it was something like like the attic's going to be above 72 degrees or whatever it was in the mid 70s,
Right.
which the attic's going to be in the mid 80s to 90s on hot days.
It should not be. No.
But it will, unless you want to write a 15-year warranty that we're not going to have moisture in this upstairs attic. I mean, we should probably be trying to make sure we do everything possible to avoid the moisture.
If it's only 10 grand.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Negative.
That's why I wanted to do.
Yes, I was gonna say that too. Is there a negative to doing this besides cost?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a negative besides cost.
Okay.
And if you got a piece of gypsum board wet versus a piece of sheetrock, is there a lower likelihood that you end up with moisture in it?
It's the organic material of the paper.
Yes.
Where you.
Is where you end up with mold. So for $10,000, unless you want to write a 15-year warranty, I mean, I think that's where we got it.
So, I mean, to John's point, yes,
It's belt and suspenders.
If the building operates as it's intended, we have a thermal envelope at the exterior of the building and conditioned space inside. However, on a day, for instance, if the system's put differently in different service in the summer when nobody's occupying it and somebody leaves the door open and it's 100% humidity out, or if there's a leak somewhere and there is moisture in the building, this would be something that I think the district would probably have more confidence in, that there's not something that's growing out of sight, right?
Yeah.
Above the ceiling. So, I mean, in my opinion, this is one of those ones where it's like, okay, it's the cost of material that gives the comfort level of the district a little bit more. And if the only downside is the cost that's associated with it, then, that's a different conversation.
But this doesn't change the amount of temperature air that can go through that.
It won't change the thermal resistance. The thermal resistance of the material will not change. No.
And you can still do the part that you were talking about with the ventilation. You were talking about that still can happen with it.
Yeah. This is just a simple change in one material to another.
Yep.
It's still a layer
Yep.
Of material between the direct underside of the trusses. All right. And then the last one is now the last one would not be a change order request at this point in time. It would be reviewing a potential CCD. This is all, that last one we looked at is time sensitive. They're in fact, ONG is getting ready to do that next week. This one is not time sensitive. What we have, why we're suggesting a CCD here, this is taking the current value of the proposed change 16, which is the cost of the mural. We talked about the mural back on May 28th when we presented some of the interior looks at the building, but this is that mural that would be in the kind of open space where the stair is, the open stair. So the current PCO for that mural itself was $14,740. The material cost that's included in this was in excess of one of the specified manufacturers of the mural that we had some initial discussions with. So while we're trying to sort out the material supplier and which company provides the mural and making sure that material gets approved, that would be where the potential for some savings over this number. Now, what was also then asked was actually putting a level 5 finish, a gypsum finish behind the mural. That reduces any imperfections in the wall. It allows it basically provides a smoother finish so that you don't get any ripples or whatever in the mural, other than the ripples in the wave pattern here. So this would again be a CCD. It would be an authorization for ONG to proceed, that we are still going to work around the number to try to bring it down on the material supply cost. I think the potential delta there for savings is about $1,500 if we're able to finalize the material costs the way that they were presented to us by one of the manufacturers. The cost of the level 5 finish all checks out. The labor for installing the mural checks out. It's just the material cost we're working towards right now. You can, I would say, if you do approve the CCD, you could just keep the level 5 finish, even if later you decide you don't want the mural. But that's a possibility. But again, this one's not time sensitive. We could revisit it later when you maybe after you've looked at the overall costs and things. But wanted to bring it forward since we have some pricing from ONG on this one.
You've gone through this, looked at, this is what you like.
It's pretty.
I was gonna defer as well, so.
Is that what it actually looks like?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, no, that was the, I know the image is a little grainy, but maybe it's a sharper image. I think we had to reduce the size of the images here on the file here, but,
What does this come in? 4-foot sheets, 8-foot sheets?
I don't recall.
So there will be seams that are in it, but
Yeah.
it's ostensibly seams, right?
Mhm. It should be seamless when it's installed, yeah.
What's the overall size, John?
I knew it's just off.
28 by
It's,
17?
yes, exactly, yeah. Yeah, 28 wide, 17 high. It goes to the base of where the ceilings are, and then there's the skylight above that. So this is so the skylights are gonna catch kind of midday and western light. They're not gonna get direct light. They're gonna have diffuse light because they're cowl wall, which is a fiberglass sandwich panel that diffuses light. So there'll be a nice midday, mid to early afternoon wash of natural light across it as well.
So that's in addition to what was budgeted.
The mural was not in the original design.
Okay,
This came through looking at potential beautification elements to the building.
sure.
Okay, any questions on any of these? I should say any more questions on any of these?
So that would be 3 that we're approving.
It would be 3 PCOs and then this CCD if we choose to approve this tonight. But the three PCOs would all become part of change order 5, and those would be the, so the FAA approval, for the roughly 40,000, the gable and plywood for the 41,000, in trade costs with ONG overhead. And then the 10,000 and change for the change in the, paperless, sheetrock. So the total change for those three would come to in the low 90s.
The crane's already built, right? I mean, go on.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. That was a cost impact that we've been reviewing, for some time.
We don't want the crane.
Motion to
You,
approve.
you could probably buy it from.
Yeah, I think, it's like,
Right?
yeah,
What would you? Okay, motion has been made and seconded, and for the record, this is for PCO 6, PCO 10, PCO 20, and a total amount of $91,713.35. Understanding that there's further discussion on the extended general conditions
Mhm.
of PCO 10. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And now, this one. This one wasn't part of them.
Let me go.
Yes. My
Is it
recommendation,
just the material or is it the design work? For both.
Bit of design in there.
yeah, I mean, as presented, this is, design, but it's the material, frankly, that is probably the cost. It's any design that's on it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, the vendor has, I will point out, while we as a design team worked with, as we were coming through all the different finishes and reviewing with Audrey and her team, this was developed as part of that process. The actual acquisition of the image is like a copyright, and that's actually that design, if you will, is included in this cost. Because whoever produces the mural has to acquire the rights to the image.
So Audrey, you're in favor?
Yes, I think, so much of a new building is behind the walls, so this is something that added a nice spark of color right in the main area where lots of people coming and going or using the facility day or night will see it. So I think it has a nice impact and it's in a prominent location.
No, I remember I agree 100%.
I need to take Audrey to some of my meetings, because that was a pretty good, that was, I need to bottle that for a meeting tomorrow night.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, so that's, so this is why I think moving forward, this is what we approved tonight is a burn rate that's not necessarily sustainable for available efficiency. So that's why we should be, at least as a committee-wide, making sure that we're checking on our,
I'll include the
budgets.
global
Yep.
budget with our agenda going forward.
Okay. All right.
Or we'll prepare the DO5 document and the CCD1 document.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else for owner's project manager, architect update?
We didn't pave Plateau Road.
Good.
Good point.
Okay, next item on the agenda is capital projects update.
I have an update on the kitchen floor. We were anticipating being done this week. We ran into a small drain issue that we had to fix. It got done today. Likely to finish the flooring by early next week and then move all the equipment back in and get ready for opening day. Concession stand on the football field is getting new pass-through windows. They are severely outdated and need to be done. That'll be done prior to school opening as well. And that's the major updates I have for you guys.
And I apologize, I did forget to update everyone on the status of the gym floor at Dunn's. Darket has been in there this week, along with their installer, it's the original installer, but they've done a great job. They took it down the top layer, they've recoated. We have dehumidifiers in there right now running. They're training the staff in how to clean, how to deep clean. And they're saying they're standing behind their 30-year warranty, so.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. It looks beautiful. Looks absolutely beautiful.
Colors okay, Mark?
Look at green in there.
Okay, so when the dust settles, for opening a school, I'm assuming you're starting the kind of annual capital request, or is that started yet? Is there anything that you need from the committee to start, to help put that together?
Not yet, but there are some things that I'm shuffling priority lists on. The Dunn's Corner window seemed to be a very big need that I might want to tackle beforehand.
The other conversation we were having with the town manager is about the bus garage and parking lot there.
Correct. We will need some more funding for that in this next round to secure the full lot.
He seemed optimistic about the funding part. There may be some other issues we could address.
Mark, if you think we should start having some meetings after the schools get open, let me know.
Yes.
We can start getting on top of that, okay? Some estimates.
All right, next item on the agenda is, next steps. So I think the only thing that we have here is, I think we covered it at the last
Ribbon
meeting.
cutting for Dunn's? Is that the one?
Joe had identified a date. Joe got the.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like on October date or something. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, anything else for next steps?
I have a question on that though, because wasn't there a date for Springbrook?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be ready?
We are trying to get the furniture in the week before, specifically so that it has to be.
I was just gonna say, I mean, you can't have opening.
Their date was the 18th. We were gonna be ready by the 15th. And that's with that extra buffer for them.
Okay, I guess my question would be, our next scheduled meeting is August 27th, which is the Wednesday before Labor Day. And the teachers start, when do you guys start that?
That day,
Yeah.
day?
and State Street has an event that night at 6. So
Okay.
I'll be here.
So I guess I don't,
see any need. I mean, we've captured everyone's invoices who have submitted. I mean, if we have something that urgent that comes up, which we got an agreement right now with Tower, they're moving forward. Anything when it shakes out, we're gonna capture afterwards.
Okay.
Figure it out.
How about crane? Tower rather, if they need to get a crane.
No cranes.
Tower's requisition,
Yeah,
they'll have to wait to September. I already told them there was a very good chance we were having the second meeting on this. I'm very transparent with them.
okay, so I think usually Rose posts the meeting agendas the Thursday or the Friday before. So I guess I'll need to know by next Wednesday whether or not so by the 20th.
Okay.
You can always question cancel though.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So maybe, yeah. All right.
Well, how about, if you want to go ahead and post, and how about if Ashley and I get back to you? Oh, actually, you'll be away next Thursday, right?
I will be able to tell you an update on Tuesday, the 19th.
Okay. All right.
So
So
the punch list done.
That's
TB
right, punch list.
TBD, But I would be in favor of, unless there's pressing business to discuss, I would be in favor of giving the committee the night off.
I agree, everyone's done very well with this summer, thank you.
I think the best bet is to schedule it, and it's easier to, if
Cancel it,
everything goes sideways on the 22nd, then we need it.
If my blood pressure stays in the middle.
We have to bail justice.
About an hour.
Yeah.
That's these PCOs that are good guys, we're gonna have those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll schedule it with the intention of potentially, canceling the meeting. Okay. Anything else for next steps? We do not have any public comment, so at this point, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?